It's like GPS for your life. The Sky Vibe Show.
Thomas, we need to talk.
Why?
There is some big guy in town, and he ain't my new guy.
Uh-oh. Are you talking about
the planets?
You talking about, yeah, well, you can't date Jupiter.
Well, he does expand too much for me.
You might go find a Sagittarian, but you can't date Jupiter. Actually, one of your, the sign that rules your relationship house is Taurus. And
yes.
That is where Jupiter just was.
Gee, thanks. I missed that one then.
Yeah. And now it's in Gemini, the next sign over.
What does that mean?
Well, first of all, Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus. And
That's
basically,
a love planet.
Well, and money. So think about it. Jupiter expands. It's been in there for the last year and a little bit. The market is at an all-time high.
See, I know nothing about the market.
Well, it's way up there right now.
So that's good, right?
It is expanded, right? So
Yes.
It made it bigger, all right? So now what could we expect in Gemini? Well, do you know anybody who's kind of a spaz?
Well, I mean, me?
Don't you get paid to be a spaz, right?
Oh,
So-
yeah. Think outside the box. Be a little weird. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So what might Jupiter in Gemini look like? Gemini is all about the mind. Gemini is the thinking sign. It's ruled by Mercury. It's communication. What happens when Mercury goes in retrograde? It's all over the place. We call it the trickster, right? So we're talking kind of a spaz sign. Look at the glyph for Gemini. It's the Roman numeral 2. So it's a divided sign. So Jupiter moved into Gemini on Saturday of the Memorial Weekend holiday, okay? So right during the Memorial Day, I don't know if you felt it. Good Lord, I did. Just felt spazzed out. And
Totally.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. And I talked to several other people who kind of like, wow, it was like their mind is just like this lottery ball machine, boing, 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 going all over the place. Well, when a planet moves into a new sign, it's stronger. So we got a really whammy of a dose of this characteristic that we're going to be in and out of over the next full 13 months, all the way to May of 2025.
Oh, how dare it stay that long?
Yeah, isn't that going to be fun? So I don't know how it's going to present, but the reason I'm saying it could be a little bit cattywampus is this. Jupiter is called in detriment in Gemini.
And explain that in English.
Here's the deal. So every sign in the sky, so Gemini and Cancer and Leo like you are and Sagittarius is ruled by a planet. If the planet that rules a sign is in the exact opposite sign across the chart, 180 degrees, over there, it's called in detriment. Because
So it's kind of like Billy and I, my co-host on the radio show. We're so opposite, it's scary.
okay, yeah. It just depends for you all who's out of sync at the moment as to who's in detriment, right? That's exactly a good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
I can understand it that way.
Yin yang, right? It's like, oh, we're not in symmetry or harmony here. It's just we're different. So Jupiter in Gemini is in detriment, which means that it might bring out some of those shadow sides of Gemini. Spaz is one. Let me tell you another that could show up, and I've got my eye on this, and I'm hoping that it's not. But Gemini is a divided sign. It's split. Think of the twins, right? They are so close, and yet they are unique individuals. Well, Gemini in that characteristic, especially when we're talking about the collective, could mean division.
As if we need more of that.
Exactly.
Can it also mean, because I have a son who's a Gemini, and I know with me having a Pisces, the twins, two fish in my rising.
That's a divided sign as well, yeah.
Yep. He and I both have the same thing of trying to make decisions. It's very tough for us to make a decision, especially when it's down to two things. Will this be an expansion of that?
Yes.
Good.
See, Jupiter, just what you wanted to hear, right? And I have no solutions. It's like it's just going to be there. And see, with your sign in Pisces, too, Pisces, the two fish, is a very dreamy, ethereal, floaty, misty kind of sign. It's a water sign. It's ruled by Neptune, the Lord of the deep, the Lord of the sea. So there's this element of detachment with Pisces.
Yeah.
I have Neptune in a real strong position in my own chart, so I totally get it. And I'll tell you what I've done for this is surround myself with people who know astrology, for one, and they know me well. And I've got a handful, a very small handful of people in this circle. But they know that I have this prominent Neptune, like you have that Pisces. And I just tell them, I'll call them up sometime and I'll say, I am having a Piscean moment, or I'm having a Neptunian moment here, and I need some clarity and some guidance. And I'm not calling to bother them to float it out. I'm calling for them to tell me what to do. So I do.
Yes, I like that.
I don't play with it. I wouldn't. That would be disrespecting their time in my book. I listen to what they say because I've selected them for that purpose. So that's worked really well. And they're wise people. They know me. We don't have to go into all of that. They know my motivations. They know what outcomes I want in my life. And when I say I'm just having one of those confused moments. But yes, and that's a great point that you brought up, because that could very well be a big signature over this next year.
I'm going to have to be really careful in my decision making, because I'm already like that. And if it's going to be that way collectively, it's going to be even a little tougher.
Well, the biggest hurdle to getting to that solution is just knowing that you have the issue. It's almost like, somebody that's getting ready to give up alcohol, for example. What's the first of the 12 steps? I admit I've got this problem, right? It's like, so that really is the first step here, too, is to just simply say, I know I'm kind of rattled in confusion right now. I was this way over that Memorial Day weekend for sure. And just to say, hey, I'm a little foggy at the moment, or I'm a little distracted at the moment, and do some grounding things, get ourselves back to center. Here's the problem. Everybody out there driving up and down the freeway, and everybody in the office, and everybody on your email is feeling the same thing. They just aren't admitting it. They don't know what they're looking for. You go, okay, wait a minute. I'm taking a big step back from this because I don't want to make a stupid decision. I need more guidance, or I need more clarity, or I need a little space. But everybody else is just plowing through. I think you just watch around. I think you'll see that people are a lot more boing, 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 boing all over the place right now. And
I've already seen it just driving and in grocery stores, and over the long weekend, 40 million people on the road. The driving was scary. I'm just like, you know what? I just want to be ostrich myself at this point. But I don't want people to listen. I don't want anyone to ever listen and be afraid, because the one good thing about, and one of the greatest things I think about doing this Sky Vibe show, is the helping of having a tribe that is with you and understands and can relate, and a safe space for you to come to.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and as you said, let's don't be afraid. Let's talk about a couple of good things that can come from Jupiter moving through Gemini. I'm a Gemini rising, so I'm like all ears to this, right? It's like, oh, wow, okay, how is this going to show up for me? Gemini is the sign of communication. You and I are in the communication business. I want to write some books. Great year to do that. I have some new audio projects that I want to launch this year. Great time to do that. Put it out there. Put anything out there along the characteristics of Gemini, which is also education. So those of you who are in the teaching profession of one kind of way or another, whether you're a classroom teacher or you might be a online course creator, this kind of thing, anything related to educating people or educating yourself, all of that comes under this umbrella. You've got 13 months of like boot, scoot, and boogie. Get her done, because this is going to be a great time to do all of that. Also, it rules short-term travel. So if somebody is looking at taking a trip that you've hesitated, well, it might be better now than it would have been last year. It could be a lot more fun, probably safer, and you might experience some things or meet some people that you wouldn't have met a year ago had you taken the trip back then. some of you might want to move. And if it's a short-term move and not like something cross-country like I just did or international, that's not under this umbrella in astrology. But you could certainly take a look at a short-term move. And if you're thinking, should I? There are other factors that would go into that. And I would certainly look at an astrology map to see what that looks like. But you could entertain that as well.
And I would suggest also to get your chart done. Now, you could go online, and there's always links, but I would start with, you can go to Fun Astrology. There's a lot of freebies that Thomas offers, but get a reading of your chart because that, to me, is of the utmost importance. It's a guide. I say at the beginning of this, it's a GPS for your life. This is such a great tool.
Make sure to follow Thomas Miller's other podcasts, including Fun Astrology and Old Soul, New Soul. And you can also find out about getting your own astrology readings. Thank you for listening.